So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you, and I welcome you all on behalf of Edureka, right? And welcome aboard. So let's see. So let's understand what is cloud computing. Can any one of you share or tell what you mean by cloud computing? What is your understanding of cloud computing? And you would have also heard about terms like SaaS, right? PaaS and IaaS. So if you can also share what you mean by SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. Anyone would like to give it a try? What is cloud computing and what is this SaaS, PaaS, IaaS? Okay, we have Ala Al-Khafji says SaaS is service as a software. That's right. That's the correct full form of SaaS. And then George Varghese says infrastructure software owned by others. Okay, and you subscribe for a service, says George. Sharmishta says anything to do on the internet, computing online. Okay, and Amol says SaaS is software as a service, PaaS is platform as a service, and IaaS is infrastructure as a service. Yeah, that's right. That's the correct full form for SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. Hardik says storage processing on remote servers, not local, remote servers on internet. And Alal Khafji says cloud computing is using offsite servers to store and access information. Benjamin says accessing the resources through the internet is known as cloud computing. Yes, that's right. Vijay says cloud computing is where you don't need software installed. Yeah, you don't need to install any software on your local machine, but you definitely need some software that may be available to you as a service, right? Vishwani says PaaS is platform as a service. Amol says Salesforce falls under both SaaS, whereas Force.com falls under PaaS. Yes, your understanding is absolutely right, Amol. Padmani says cloud computing means using internet to store and process data. Okay. Vijay says does not require to maintain hardware. Okay. All right. Vinod says the platform through which anyone can access from anywhere, any place. Okay. And IaaS is infrastructure as a service. We can store, retrieve the data from anywhere, even remote areas. Okay. Saurav Malik. Saurav, you just joined in a couple of minutes back. I think you were not there at the beginning of the session. Saurav says cloud computing is internet-based computing. Okay. All right. So we have many definitions here, and good. I can see that almost everyone gave the correct answer, right? So you would have already used a few apps like the Gmail, right? The Gmail apps, right? The Google Drive or Mail or Google Hangouts, right? If not, then you would have definitely used Twitter, right? Or Facebook, right? LinkedIn. So all of these, they are examples of SaaS, software as a service, right? They're all examples of cloud computing. Okay. Saurav says, okay, was not there at the beginning, was having some issues with my internet bandwidth. No issues, Saurav. So I extend a very warm welcome to you on behalf of Edureka and welcome aboard, right? Just if you could help me with your location and your professional background and your expectation from the course, it will be great, right? And you can definitely catch up on the recording in case you'd like to do that for the part of the session that you have missed. Okay, all right. Okay, moving on. So this is my definition of cloud, right? C stands for coexist, or can say multi-tenant, right? L, location independent. O, on demand. U, usage based or pay per use. And D, dynamically scalable. Okay, so with C, it means coexist. So you have many operating systems, many databases, right? So you have Windows operating system, you have Sun Solaris, you have Linux, you have various kind of databases that you would have come across like SQL, Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL. So all of that, all of them can coexist with each other out here. Okay, it's a multi-tenant environment, which means more than one tenant, right? And it is location independent, as many of you pointed out that you can access it from anywhere, anytime. You need not be sitting in front of your system. You can be in any part of the globe, anywhere, right? And your instance would be available to you on demand. Whenever you demand, it will be available to you, up and running on. No matter whether it is 2 o'clock in the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, it will be available on demand. Whenever you want, it will be there. And it is usage based. It's a pay-per-use model. So you only pay for what you use. If you don't use, you don't pay. Simple, right? Whereas in some of the traditional models, no matter whether you used it or you don't use it, you have to pay, because the service provider would have blocked the resources for you accordingly. So now, irrespective of whether you have used it, you haven't used it, you are supposed to pay. But out here, you just pay for what you use, otherwise you don't pay. Of course, depending upon the plan and the model that you would have subscribed to. And dynamically scalable means that suppose you have a cloud instance. Now you are facing some performance issues, some bottlenecks, and you would like to upgrade, right? Upgrade that instance. So you would like to increase the vCPU or the RAM, network, storage, or you could also like to add the second instance, third instance, fourth instance, fifth instance, like that, right? So this is referred to as scalability, right? So the former one is known as the vertical scalability, and the later one is known as the horizontal scalability, right? Wherein you add more than one instances or virtual machines, right? And it is dynamic. You don't have to wait for hours and days and months, right? It is there. You just need to subscribe and it's there for you. Okay, so as many of you pointed out that it is a distributed software that sits on a central server and can be accessed on a wide level by people at any location. Okay, it means the infra, that is either it is software, hardware side, over the internet, it is readily available. All right. But before cloud computing came in, right, and the different service models, deployment models that we see here, right? Software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. So we already had these concepts in real life. If you look at today, we have something called as CaaS, which is nothing but car as a service, right? So you would be using the services from the likes of Uber, Ola, right? So this is nothing but car as a service, right? In fact, these days people are contemplating, in fact, many of them have already sold off their cars, right? Because now people have realized that to own a car, right, you need to first of all make some kind of a capital investment, upfront capex, right? At least 5-6 lakhs if you want to own a mid-sized car, right? And to top it, you need to go in for the insurance, the service maintenance at periodic time, fuel, fuel cost, and definitely if you are planning to have a chauffeur-driven car, then the chauffeur expenses, right? Wear and tear. So overall, if you look at it, it's a expensive ball game. So here you have someone saying that no need to buy, no need to own a car. See, after all, what is the objective that you achieve out of owning a car? You want to travel from point A to point B comfortably, right? And if this objective gets achieved, if it gets covered, even by not owning a car, then why would you like to have the headache, the pressure of maintaining a car, buying a car, right? So here you have service providers like Uber, Ola, are saying that order the car that you want. You want a mini car, micro car, sedan, and it will be there at your doorstep, chauffeur driven, right? And what do you pay? Usage based, pay per use. Only pay for the number of kilometers that you have traveled. That's it. No capex investment, no insurance, no wear and tear, no service, no maintenance, no headache, and the car is available to you whenever you want, right? So these concepts we already had, right, in our real life. Even if you look, even before CAS, car as a service came in, right? If you look at the public transport, right, the road or the rail services, or let's look at the airlines for that matter. Okay, there is an input from George. George says parking is $20 to $30 a day in LA or San Francisco. Big issue you can avoid. Yes, even in metros like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta, you don't get parking. You just don't get parking, right? So these days, the building plan only gets approved if you have a provision for having a dedicated parking for all your tenants who are going to reside in the building, right? Because there isn't enough space. That's the reason why all these parking issues have cropped up, right? So no wonder you have $20 to $30 a day, right? That you need to pay. So let's look at the airlines, for example, say the chartered flights. Okay, So I think there will be very few people nationally or even globally who could afford their own chartered flights. Otherwise, all of us, we rely on the various service providers, right? The low cost airlines or the other types of airlines, right? Even the public road rail services. So if you look at the road, right? So it's an infrastructure that is built by the government and maintained by the government, right? So suppose I need to travel from say Mumbai to Delhi, so I have the road available, I have the national highway, right? And I will make use of it, right? Similarly, the rail services. So the railway stations, the railway tracks, the railway coaches, bogies, etc. Everything, the entire infra will be maintained by the government, right? By the central government. And depending upon the class in which I want to travel, a second AC or third AC or second sleeper or first class, whatever, I need to purchase a ticket of that particular class. And depending upon where I want to travel, say Bombay to Delhi, so depending upon the number of kilometers, I will have to buy a ticket, right? So I will be using the government infra, right? But I will only pay for what I am using, right? For that particular class in which I am traveling, for whatever distance I am traveling, I will only buy the ticket that is applicable to me. I am not bothered about the upkeep of the railway tracks, the railway stations, the bogies, the coaches, etc., etc. Even airlines, I am not bothered. I'll not be bothered about who is maintaining the airport, who is maintaining the runway, the aircraft, the salaries of the airline crews. I need to travel from Mumbai to Delhi. I will buy the ticket in the preferred carrier, and depending upon whether I am traveling on an economy class or J class, I would pay per use, right? And at the end of the day, I would achieve my objective, right? If I want to travel in a faster, easier way, I would go for an airline. If I have plenty of time, I may as well go for a road or a rail services. But I will only pay per use, right? Usage based only. I am not bothered about who will maintain this, who will upgrade, downgrade, downtime, uptime, up maintenance, upkeep. I am not concerned, right? So it is not just about the cost, affordability, but you don't want to be bothered or concerned, right? You want to focus on your core business, right? So you would say that why spend all your time and energy on all basic stuff, right? Rather, you would be focusing on my business, right? So earlier days, you had to be concerned about the hardware, right? First, you will see what servers to buy, what network to maintain, what storage, all of that, right? Then you will also have a data center, right? Wherein you will have to look at the cooling aspect, the power, right? Then there is a real estate cost, all of this you had to worry. And then even after this it is not ready, then you have to make it platform ready, right? So you will have to buy the operating system licenses, the database licenses, you'll have to probably invest in an app server, right, etc., etc., and also install various types of softwares. So if you are a banking customer, so you will have to install a banking software like a Finacle, right? Or if you are a retail, then point of sale software, right? Or if you are a insurance, then insurance related software, right? So all this you had to take care in the traditional old systems, which is gone now with cloud computing, right? It is available to you when you need it. You just need to subscribe the service, right? So let's look at few more use cases. So you pay your monthly bills as per your plan or usage, right? So if you look at the telephones, be it landline or mobile, even internet, right? If you look at TV, whether it's cable TV or satellite, D2H, direct to home, or even if you look at the food supplies, say milk or water, electricity, you pay by the meter, right? So if you look at these, right, if you look at telephone, be it a landline phone or your mobile or your broadband connection, you get a monthly bill depending upon the plan that you would have opted for or the usage, right? You would get some bundled speed along with the plan that you would have opted for, say 16 Mbps speed and 100 GB data. And post you finish this 100 GB, then you need to top up. Else the speed is revised to say 512 kbps, right? So depending upon your plan and the usage, you would be billed, right? Pay per use. But here, even if you will not use, they will bill you some minimum rental, at least the minimum rental. Say if you are on a 999 plan or a 1299 plan, they would bill you. Even your TV, cable TV or D2H satellite, right? So depending upon the package, the kind of channels that you would have subscribed to, they would have some plan, and depending upon that, you would be supposed to pay, right? Okay. Yeah, George. I would be sharing this notepad notes at the end of the course or even in between if you want. I will be uploading it in the LMS, okay, in the learning management system, so that you can go through this. All right. So don't worry, you don't need to take note of it. I'll be uploading it in the LMS. Yeah, at the end of the course, as well as if you want, I can do that in between as well, right? There is option available to me. I can upload, right? So I will be uploading it in the LMS. Okay, so that you will find it under the modules. Just like you will get the video recording, you will get these notes. Okay. Yeah, Vinod, do you have a question? I can see you have raised your hand. You have a question to ask? If you have, just use the question panel, please. You have a question, Vinod? Okay. So guys, be careful. I would request whenever you have a question, just use the question panel and don't use the raise hand option. It unnecessarily disturbs others and you get deviated. Okay. So even if you look at the food supplies, even before we had the cable TVs and the telephones, right? We had the food supplies coming in to our homes. So depending upon the number of milk bottles or the milk sachets that you would have consumed during the month, so your milk vendor will bill you accordingly. Now you are not concerned where that milk is coming from which plant, which way, which vehicle is bringing it and all that, right? You need a full cream milk, you will get it. You need a half tone milk, you will get it. And depending upon your consumption, the type of milk you would get billed at the end of the month, right? And for the basic commodities like the water, electricity, etc., also you pay by the meter. Depending upon the consumption that you would have had, you pay by the meter for water, electricity, etc. Right? So these are some of the examples that we had even before we had cloud computing, right? Okay. So any questions, guys, till this point? Are there any questions, any queries, any doubts from anyone? Okay. George has a question. George says, what are the drawbacks? Okay. And okay. So George, if you ask me, there are no evident drawbacks here. Okay. These are all the advantages only, right? Various operating systems, databases, they can all coexist. You can have a multi-tenant architecture, which was not there earlier in the traditional old systems. It is location independent. No matter where you are, what time, whenever you want, on demand it is available. It is usage based, only pay per use. So you only have to pay for what you use, otherwise you don't pay. And it is scalable. Whenever you want to upgrade, scale, you can do that. All right. So there may be some small drawbacks or disadvantages, but they are negligible. Okay, I can tell you that. This is the reason why it's growing at such a phenomenal pace, right? This is the reason why the world has adopted cloud computing with open arms, because of these inherent advantages, right? See, look at it. Suppose I am an enterprise. I am a telecom company, right? I am a AT&T or a Verizon or a Tata or a Reliance or Bharti Airtel. Now, I want to focus on my core business, that is telecom. I am not bothered. I don't want to be concerned or entrenched in issues involving the servers, hardware, network, storage, cooling, power, real estate, buying OS, installing OS, building app servers, installing databases. No, I want to focus on my core business, that is telecom, adding subscribers, building on my enterprise services, gaining more and more market share, revenue share from my customers, increasing my footprint. That is my core business, right? So we'll be looking at this term SMAC, which stands for Social, Mobile, Analytics, and Cloud. Okay, during our course of interaction, SMAC. So at this point of time, just be aware, SMAC stands for Social, Mobile, Analytics, and Cloud. Okay, so next is, as I said, we'll be signing up for the free developer environment. Not today, tomorrow. Okay, so here you will be asked to set a password. Okay, and some secret question, right? Like your place of birth, your favorite movie, or your pet name, etc. Just in case you forget the password, in order to help you recover the password. Okay, Prashant has a point here. Prashant says one drawback I can think of is that we are getting very much dependent on the internet, and if we get too much dependent on internet and tomorrow if something happens, some submarine cable gets cut, something, if it's not available, then obviously yes. But then you have ways and means, right? You have redundancies built in, you have multiple paths available, transatlantic, trans-Pacific. But yes, at the end of the day, anything can happen. So yes, if all the connectivity, all the redundancy goes in for a toss, then obviously you will be disconnected and your work will suffer. But as of now, in today's scenario, fortunately, that is very, very unlikely, right? You may have a cut on a particular link, but then you have alternate links and ways and means available to be up and running always. All right. So thanks for the input, Prashant, and we will sign up for the free developer environment, right? You need to have a working email ID, all of you, right? We will set the password and the security question. And we will be logging in. Okay, but we'll do that tomorrow. But be ready with a working email ID that will be used. So you just need a working email ID, right? And you need to set up username. So you can have multiple usernames, but the username, one username is unique for every Salesforce developer org. It is tagged that way. Okay, and you can use the same email ID. You can have different usernames, but you can use the same email ID. Okay, so let's also look at the PPT here. So we already understood what is cloud computing. These are the different service and deployment models, right? So for a SaaS, that is software as a service, you have all the Google apps, right? The Gmail, the Google Talk, the Google Docs, Dropbox, and Salesforce. Salesforce is 100% SaaS, software as a service, right? Then if you look at PaaS, platform as a service, so in Salesforce itself, you have force.com, which is the PaaS layer of Salesforce, right? Which we'll use to do the coding, write the programs. And other examples, of course, are Windows Azure, that is from Microsoft, Google App. And if you look at the IaaS, infrastructure as a service, then you have IaaS services available from Amazon. Amazon Web Services is one of the leading service providers, even Rackspace. If you talk about US and even in India, you have operators like Sifi, Control S, Tatacom, Bharti Airtel, Reliance, right? All of them provide infrastructure as a service. So let's look at analogy here. Pizza as a service. Just as we discussed about car as a service, you also have pizza as a service. So this is a very interesting example. So if you look at the first example here, the first column, traditional on-premise, that has been compared with the made at home pizza. So in the traditional on-premise model, you used to have everything at home. So it was 100% made at home. So right from the raw material that is required to bake a pizza, cheese, toppings, tomato sauce, pizza dough, that is the pizza base, and the wire media. You will need some wire media to bake the pizza, fire, oven, electric gas, right? And then you'll add on some soda, etc. And then finally have it on a dining table. So everything you manage. Everything you manage. Whereas if you look at the infrastructure as a service, IaaS, so it's comparable to a take and bake model. That is, you only take the raw material, that is the cheese, toppings, tomato sauce, and the pizza base, the pizza dough from the vendor, from the market, and then rest of the things you manage. That is the fire, oven, electric gas, soda, all of that. You get the raw material from the market, but you bake it, you prepare it at home, and then you finally have it on your dining table, right? So that is comparable to a infrastructure as a service. That is, you are just getting the infra from the service provider, rest of the things you are managing. Third is pizza delivered. That is compared to a platform as a service, wherein you are ordering a pizza from a Pizza Hut or a Domino's, and it is getting delivered. as most of us do, right? So it arrives, you just add probably some soda for some flavor and you have it on your dining table. That is, the vendor is managing everything. You are getting a ready to eat pizza delivered at your home, right? So that is comparable to a PaaS, platform as a service. So not only the infra, but the platform also vendor manages. If you look at the fourth column, it is comparable to a SaaS, software as a service. That is comparable to a dining out. That you are not even ordering it at home, you are going out at Pizza Hut or Domino's and having it at their restaurant itself using their dining table. That is top to bottom. That is raw material, the via media, soda, dining table, everything is being managed by the vendor. Nothing is managed by you. Everything is managed by the vendor. Okay, I think I have a question here from Shravani. Shravani says, as far as my knowledge, free developer environment is only accessible for 30 days. No, that's not right, Shravani. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime free developer environment. I hope that answers your question. 30 days and all, you are, I think, confusing it with the trial. It is not a trial. This is a free developer org, free developer environment, and it is available to you lifetime. Okay, not for 30 days. Okay, Padmini has a question. So all apps like WhatsApp, Viber, etc. fall under SaaS, that is software as a service. Yes, that's right. You can say that. Okay, it's available to you on your device, right? Whenever you want. Okay, but typically SaaS is a paid service, okay, wherein you buy licenses, etc. But you can say that WhatsApp, Viber, yes, they are apps, they are softwares available to you as a service. Okay. Okay, Vijay says dining every day out is bad for health. Same way, totally depending on SaaS is also bad in future. Yeah, you can say that, but see here you have the exact replicas of these instances being up and running in various data centers across the globe, right? So there is hardly any downtime or maintenance. At least I have not come across. There is at times there is scheduled maintenance, etc., and it is pre-informed, right? And if you want, then along with the SaaS, right, you can also have a parallel, on-premise system, okay? But then it would have a cost associated with it that you need to bear. Yeah, you're right, George. It is, at the end of the day, it's a business decision, strategy, and the business takes a call. And I have seen, so you talk about Coca-Cola, you talk about Facebook, Groupon, Pfizer, a lot of telcos like Tatacom, Bharti Airtel, AT&T, Verizon, all of them are using Salesforce. A lot of manufacturing giants like Toyota, Nissan, all of them have migrated to Salesforce. And I said the the driving force is the same. They all want to focus on their core area, core business. They don't want to be bothered about the upkeep, buying hardware, then before you realize it becomes obsolete, right? Upgrading the hardware, doing a patch upgrade, installing new software, keep on buying licenses. So you don't want to be bothered about all that here, right? It's all the headache of Salesforce. So the same thing if you look at, right? So if you see here on premises, so here network, storage, server, virtualization, that is the infrastructure, right? This is the infrastructure. In the on-premise model, the infra, then this is the platform, right? And this is the software, everything you manage, right? In infrastructure as service, you only take the infra. You only take the infra from the service provider, rest you manage. In platform as a service, not only you take the infra, but you also take the platform from the service provider and rest you manage, right? Whereas in a software as a service, everything is managed by the vendor. You don't manage anything. It's available to you whenever you want. Okay, and this is slightly old data, but it's relevant even now. So Salesforce, as you can see, it has the highest market share in the CRM space. So it shows 16%, but now it is 20%. In fact, more than 20% now. And some of these players have changed, right? So you have Adobe, you have the other players' percentages also getting changed, right? But other than the Salesforce, these are the other dominant players: SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, IBM, right? And others all put together contribute 50%, like Zoho or Sugar. Okay, but Salesforce is clearly the leader. Has got more than 20% market share now. And this is the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So if you can see, Salesforce is clearly the leader. Even in the leaders quadrant, it is way ahead of Microsoft Dynamics CRM and others like SAP, Sugar, Oracle. They are in the visionaries, and Zoho, Sage in niche players, and Oracle, SAP, NetSuite, etc. in challengers quadrant. This is the Gartner report on PaaS. Is also slightly old. You can see even here Salesforce is leader ahead of Microsoft, Google, NTT, Docker, etc. etc. So clearly the leader in PaaS as well as in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, right? And this is a very important slide. So if you can see, so as I said a little while ago, you have a sales cloud, service cloud, and a marketing cloud as part of the Salesforce, and also App Exchange. This is nothing but the online marketplace, just like you have the Google Play Store and App Store in case of iOS. And these are the mobile apps, the mobile version of Salesforce, Salesforce 1, app and the Salesforce One platform API. And just like you have force.com, you also have Heroku and exact target fuel. But we'll be seeing the force.com. And here at the bottom, if you see now, you have the SMAC, social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. Okay, and as I said, you have both options in Salesforce: declarative, that is point and click, and programmatic. So in declarative, you'll be seeing data modeling, business logic, business process automation, that is the workflow rules, approval processes, lightning process builder, UI, reports, dashboards, and the mobile access. So we'll be covering these over a period of next few weeks. And in the programmatic option, as I said, you have the Apex and VF and Sockle and Sossel. Anyone aware about what is Sockle and Sossel? Anyone has any idea? Anyone? No? Okay. Prashant says, is it no SQL? No, no, it is not SQL. It is just like a SQL. Yeah, I've got the right answer from Venkateswara and Vishwani. Yes. So Sockle, it stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. Yes, Sravani also got it right. Sockle is Salesforce Object Query Language that you have in Salesforce. So if someone would have used SQL or Oracle, so it is almost like that. And Sossel is Salesforce Object Search Language. You're right, Sravani. Yeah, good. So we'll look at it in the coming days when we do the programmatic option. All right. So let's understand, okay, the building blocks of the SFDC developer environment. We'll see this anyways tomorrow. So let's try to understand the building blocks. Okay, there is a question here from George. SFDC stands for, yeah. So George, SFDC stands for Salesforce.com. Okay, so it's the abbreviation for Salesforce.com. So you call it SFDC. SF stands for Salesforce, D stands for dot, and C stands for com. So instead of calling Salesforce.com, every time we refer to it as SFDC. Vijay says Force.com is PaaS, not an application like Salesforce. Yes, Force.com is PaaS. It is not an application. It's a platform. Platform as a service. It's not an app. Okay, okay, Vijay. Does that answer your question? Yeah, okay. All right. So let's move on. So the first building block that we have is an app. Okay. So what is the app? It is nothing but a, you can say in a very, very basic or easy layman language, it is a collection of tabs, right? You have many tabs in any app, right? So it is nothing but a collection of tabs. And what is a tab? It shows a list of accounts, contacts, cases, orders, etc., etc. Right? And by the way, these are some of the standard objects that we have in Salesforce. Okay, standard object means that we get as a standard functionality by Salesforce. Okay, again, I have someone raising a hand here. Okay, it's from Edureka guest here. Okay. Third building block is a object. So all of you would have seen an Excel sheet. You would have seen a table in a Excel sheet, right? So uh, in the Excel sheet, the way you have a table, you can compare it to a object in Salesforce. Okay, and basically this is a storage space or a container for storing the records. And obviously the fourth building block is records, which is nothing but a set of fields. Clear? Till this point, everyone is clear? Anyone has any question? Okay, there is a question from Hardik. Can object be termed as entity? No, it won't be appropriate, Hardik, to term it as an entity. You can compare it with a table that you have seen in an Excel sheet. So it's like a storage space, or you store all your records. It's a container for your records. So you can't term it as an entity. Sharmishta Mitra has a question. So a table in an Excel sheet could represent a table in the database. Yes. So does an object also resemble in a database? So what do you mean by resemble? So you are right. So a table in an Excel sheet, it's just like, yes, resemble a table in database. Yes, your understanding is absolutely correct, Sharmishta. Okay, Vijay says, I think object is collection of fields, whereas record is a collection of data. See, you have various fields in an object, in a standard object as well as a custom object. You have custom fields, standard fields, relationship fields. So you can say that it is a collection of fields, but it would be more appropriate to call a record as a set of fields rather than calling it a collection of data, right? So a object, it's a kind of a container for your records, and records are the set of fields. We'll look at these tomorrow and going forward when we create some custom objects and fields, records, etc. Sharmishta says records are database rows. Yes. Okay. So now I have a question for all of you, especially the ones who are experienced lot. What are the 4 things you can do in a system or any app, software, database, right? Irrespective of technology. It could be mainframe, Java, .NET, SFDC, Siebel, PeopleSoft, Oracle, Sybase, DB2. What are the 4 things that you do in any system, any app, any software, any database, irrespective of the technology? Okay, I've got some answers here from Hardik, George, Vijay, and Venkat. Okay, anyone else wants to try? So out of these, I would say Hardik and Venkat, you got it absolutely right. And George and Vijay, you got it partially correct. You are not 100% correct. Yeah. So I would tell the answer. It is CRUD, which is you create new, you read the existing, you update, or you delete. Right? These are only the 4 things that you do. Yeah, you're right, Prashant. Create, read, update, and delete. Okay, CRUD. Right? These are the 4 things that you do. Create new, read existing, update, and delete. That's it. This is what you do. These are the 4 things. In any system, any app, any software, any database, does not matter. It could be Java, .NET, SFDC, Siebel, PeopleSoft, Oracle, Sybase, DB2, whatever you want to talk, you can talk. These are the 4 things. These are the only 4 things that you do. Right? Okay. Next is the data that we have. It is stored in the database or in my hard disk drive or on the server hard disk drive, right? If it's a client server architecture, and it is displayed on my UI, the user interface, when I click something after I log in with my user ID and password, right? Once I give my user ID and password, it authenticates, it validates that it is a legitimate user, genuine user. I am let in, and then I click on something and that is displayed on my screen. That is my user interface, right? And then there is something which is controlling this, which is a controller, right? So this is known as a MVC model in Salesforce, right? Which is nothing but it's a combination of UI, database or data model, and the business logic, right? So MVC. So M, it stands for model. So the data model or database that you have falls here. In view, what do you have in view? Anyone? What do you have in controller and what do you have in view? Yes. In view you have UI. You're right. Venkat, Hardik and Sharmishta. You have in view you have UI or UX or GUI, whatever you want to call it. Controller, it's the business logic which is driving all this. Yes, you're right, Sharmishta. Controller is the logic. Very important. And we'll keep coming back to these again and again and again. So very important for you to understand this. I think you have a slide also around this in the first or the second module. Yeah, I think it's in the second module. Sorry. So SFDC, you refer to it as a environment. You can also refer to it as a org or organization. Some people also refer to it as a developer org or instance or database. Okay, so it is a combination of the UI, database, and of course the controlling layer. So it's like a integrated UI, I would say, showing all the layers like database, controller, users, UI, settings, etc. etc. Okay, Sharmishta has a question. Does Salesforce also provide access to backend database to developers? So what do you mean by backend database? That is the proprietary database you're talking about of Salesforce or your own company database or enterprise database? The proprietary database you're talking about or the your own org database? Okay, the org database where company will store the customer's data. Yes, yes. You get the access, full access, no issues. Okay, I will just copy paste these for the benefit of the larger audience. Sockle and Sossel. So at this point of time, just be aware what is Sockle, what is Sossel. Don't get too much worried about these. Okay, we'll come to these in due course of time. So Sockle is the Salesforce object query language, and the Sossel is Salesforce object search language. Okay, so anybody here who would have worked on SQL or Oracle, you would find it a bit easy as compared to the ones who are new. Okay, so now moving on, let's look at, so metadata. What is metadata? What do you mean by metadata? Anyone aware what is metadata? Okay, good. I have a lot of right answers here. Sharmishta, Shravani, Saurav, Sindhura, Hardik, Vinod. Absolutely right. It is data about data. It is nothing but data about data. So Salesforce is a metadata driven architecture. You have a polymorphic application, that is the web browser that you use to access, and then there is a, in between there is a runtime engine, Salesforce runtime engine, and in the database it's getting with, I mean, the database is not getting shared, but the infra, right, the resources that you have, of course you have your tenant specific metadata, then there is a common metadata, and then there is a data. So let's understand one more keyword that we discussed a little while ago, which is the multi-tenant, multi-tenant, right? So all of us, we live in apartment or a gated community, right? And in this, you have some common facilities, right? Like you have lifts, you have escalators, you have water tank, sump, then the corridor, the water unit, purifier, right? It is all common for all the tenants who are living in the apartment or the gated community, right? Then in your flat, That is, you have exclusive access. No one else can enter or access, right? You have your own security, you have privacy in your own apartment or flat, right? So this is just like the multi-tenant environment that you have in Salesforce. So you have an apartment, you have few common facilities or resources like the lifts, escalators, water tanks, some corridor, etc., which every other customer uses, everyone uses. It's common. But your own flat, your own apartment, that is your own dedicated space that you have, there you have your own exclusive access, security, privacy. No one else can enter without your permission. That is your own exclusive space, right? And in within your apartment also, if you will see, there is a defined layout for the flat, right? Say all the kitchens, they will be in one corner, that is one side, right? So if you have say 10 floors and one flat has kitchen in the front, another kitchen in middle, then another kitchen in the corner. Have you seen anything like this ever? Have you ever seen anything like this? No, right? All the kitchens, they will be in one corner, one side. If you have 10 floors, all the kitchens will be one above the other. All the washrooms, bathrooms will be one above the other. You cannot have a situation wherein one flat has a kitchen in the front, another has middle in the middle, and one has in the corner, right? So there is a definite layout, right, that it will follow for kitchen, washroom, hall, living room, like that, right? So data and metadata, right? So this is comparable to metadata, right? Data about data. So this is comparable to the metadata, right? So the data, if you see, so all your records, okay, fields, business data, right, your list of accounts, contacts, these are all data, right? And metadata, if you see, so metadata would be, do you have a 2 BHK or a 3 BHK, right? That is the layout, right? The template, right? A 2 BHK will have the same layout, same template. A 3 BHK will have the same layout, same template. And it talks about the data about data, right? So a 2 BHK will have 2 bedrooms, 1 hall, 1 kitchen. 3 3 BHK would have 3 bedrooms, 1 hall, 1 kitchen. So till this point, any questions, guys? Any queries? Any doubts? Anyone has? Okay. George says, can common facility be crowded with other public using the system? Will it affect speed, or can a mischief tap a parallel line of my cable TV line? Yes. So you see, the common facility that you have, obviously, since it is common, so you will, it is not dedicated for you. So obviously you will have the other tenants, other customers also using it. So to an extent, yes, it would affect the speed, etc. Okay, but mischief and all, not possible, because it is 100% secure. Okay, so again, in that you have the concepts of public, private, and hybrid cloud, right? So in public cloud, still there is a possibility, but in other models like the private cloud and all, it's totally dedicated to you. You create your own public cloud within your premise only for you. So there you can eliminate this also. Nobody can mischief or tap a parallel line of your cable TV and all. Okay. Vijay is why. Okay. Vijay says, what is multi-tenant in Salesforce language? Okay. So you see, I am Salesforce. Okay. Now I have created the cloud instances in many data centers across the world. Right now, you are a tenant. You come to me. George comes to me. Hardik comes to me. Padmini comes to me. Right? All of you want to be my customers. So will I say no? No, right? I have created. After all, I have created the infra for you guys, right? So you are all my tenants, right? It's a multi-tenant. But every tenant, okay, depending upon your needs, right, and your requirements, you can customize it. Okay, you can customize it to a great extent, right? So maybe your requirements, your needs would be different to what George has. George requirements, needs would be different to what Hardik or Venkat or Padmini has, right? So you can customize, you can buy the licenses accordingly, right? Maybe you would require more of the Salesforce licenses. Someone may require more of the Salesforce platform licenses. Someone would more require the chatter licenses, right? But I am ready. I have everything available. Okay, but I can accommodate all of you. So you are also a tenant. George is also a tenant. Padmini is also a tenant. All of that. So you would have stayed in a hostel at some point of time, right? So in a hostel, there are different rooms for different students, right? And then you have some common facilities like the cafeteria, like the washrooms, or the badminton court, or the lawn tennis court, right? So, but all of you are tenants. You live in different rooms, but you have your own. You know, someone may require access to the lawn tennis, someone requires access to the cafeteria, someone requires access to the entertainment area, someone does not require access there. But I have the entire infra. I have the hostel ready, right? Vijay comes, I can give. George comes, I can give. George says, okay, I want a room, but I don't want access to the entertainment area. I want access to the only the lawn tennis. I'll say, okay, fine, have it. Vijay comes, he says, no, I want access to the entertainment area also along with the lawn tennis. I say, okay, come, not an issue. And I will bill you accordingly, depending upon your plan, your license that you opt for. Is it clear, Vijay? Does that answer your question? Okay, Hardik has a question here. Does multi-tenant means multi-org support? Yes. Yes, you are right, Hardik. Okay, Venkat has a question. Can we refer metadata as a business requirements? It won't be appropriate to say metadata as a business requirement. It basically talks about, see, one you have the data specific to your org, right? And then there has to be something which talks about the data about data. That is where this data is stored, how this data is stored, when it was last accessed, when it was last modified it, who modified it, right? So data about data, that is referred to as metadata. Okay. Padmini has a question. How is metadata used in the industry? Yeah, so I just answered that, right? So if somebody wants to know, you will see in the developer org, right? Who you have many features like the setup audit trail, track field history, right? So you want to track who changed it, when it got changed, who changed it, from what it changed to what. Earlier it was what, and now it was changed to what, right? It would have a timestamp. So all that tracking is possible using the metadata. Okay. Okay, we have a question here. Is it secure for availability? Yes, it is secure. Okay, but again, as I said, I'll come to that. So as I said, you have different deployment models, right? You have public cloud, you have private, and you have hybrid, right? So public cloud is nothing but, you can say it is this, right? Infra, I have created the infra in my data center. I have created the cloud grid and it is available. So depending upon what instance you want 2 CPUs, 8 GB RAM, 30 GB hard disk space, load balancer, firewall. I have various instances available. You can opt the plan and you can take the instance up and running, right? But then if you have a requirement, you say that there are other customers also. So there can be a data leakage or a data pilferage. So customers like the banking customers or the insurance customers, then they go for the private cloud, which is also like a public cloud, but it is only dedicated to that customer. So in the bank data center, what I will do, I will create their public cloud only for the usage of the bank, that particular bank and their employees, not available for public. Whereas in the hybrid model, it is a combination of the public cloud, that is IaaS, as well as some dedicated hardware, because there are some limitations to the public cloud, like the number of IOPS, that is the input output per second that you can have. It's limited in case of a public cloud, that is the processing power. So beyond some processing power, you need to go for the dedicated hardware. Okay, and SFDC is 100% cloud. Okay, so we'll see some of the, it create some custom objects tomorrow, right? And we'll also look at the standard objects that we have in Salesforce, like the account, contact, leads, orders, etc. And then we'll also look at the standard fields like name, created by owner, modified by, okay, and custom fields also like email ID, phone, etc., etc. Okay, and before we close the session, question. I have two questions for all of you. I would like you to come prepared and answer these in the tomorrow's session. So the question is, find out, can a standard object, okay, like a account, contact, lead, order, have a custom field? Okay, this is the first question. And the second question is, can a custom object have a standard field? Okay, so come prepared, and we'll see the answers to these questions tomorrow. Okay, Prashant has a question. Can you please provide the link to create the ID in the free developer environment? Yeah, sure, Prashant, I'll do that. So it is basically this. Okay. Developer.salesforce.com. In fact, if you will see the presentation for module 2, I think it's mentioned here as well. Yeah. Okay. All right, Prashant. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. So that's it from my end. And before we close the session, do you have any questions, any queries, any doubts, anything? Please feel free to ask me now. Venkat has a question. Is it possible to upload the class notes after every class? So it is possible, but it becomes very cumbersome for me. Okay, so what I will do is after say a fortnight or so, I will be uploading. Okay, after we have covered considerable amount of ground, will then I will upload. But anyways, you can see this in the recording, right? The recording will anyways be available to you after a couple of hours, and these notes I will upload after say every 15 days or so. Okay, will it be fine, Venkat? Okay. Any questions? Any queries? Any doubts? Yeah, you're welcome, Benjamin. Um, Thank you, Shravani. Okay, thank you so much, Sharmishta. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Okay, so we had a couple of people joining in late. I think Saurabh, Benjamin. So we will have your respective introductions tomorrow in tomorrow's session, right? And also, I think Pravina. Pravina also joined a bit late. Okay, you're welcome, Pradyuman. And okay, there's a question from George. What all modules does Salesforce have? So modules, if you talk about, so you have a sales cloud, service cloud, marketing cloud, and the modules that you see here. These are basically aligned with the course curriculum of the admin, app builder, and the dev foundation, right? So module of Salesforce, if you talk about, then it is sales, service, marketing, and now finance also, I think. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Pradyuman Sovik. No problem. Okay, Pravina says I'm not having touch in software field. No, not an issue. Not an issue. So that's why I'm building the background, building the base, so that all of you are on the same ground. The experienced ones, non-experienced ones, everyone. Not to worry. All right, Pravina. All right, guys. So I'll take your leave now, and thank you so much for joining in on time. And don't forget to spare a minute and give your candid feedback once we close the webinar. All right, guys. Good night and have a nice day. Bye bye. Take care. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place.